State of the franchise for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles were the NFL's most surprising team from this season because they went 9-8. They went to the Wildcard Round and got beat by Tampa Bay. But, I mean, if you were to tell me that Philadelphia, before the season, was going to go 9-8 and make it to the playoffs, I would tell you no way. No way possible, because you got to remember, before the regular season started, Philadelphia was only expected to win between 2 to 4 games. Like, many people thought that they were going to be picking for top 5, top 10 in the draft and picking a quarterback. You know, not only did not a lot of people believe in Philadelphia, but a lot of people didn't really believe in first-year head coach Nick Sirianni, who pretty much was the best first-year head coach, and he was the only first-year head coach to make it to the playoffs. And remember that many people, myself included, had Brandon Staley, head coach of the LA Chargers, as a lock to make it to the playoffs. And even though you can say, well, JT, the Eagles didn't really play a tough schedule, you know, like, considering the expectations that Philadelphia had going in, like, this was a very big confidence boost this season for Philadelphia as an organization moving forward. Now, I have questions of if Philadelphia can make it to the playoffs again, because we saw what happened with Washington. Washington previously was able to win the division. They were able to capitalize on the division not being great, not really having a tough schedule. And they were able to make it to the playoffs. They had a really competitive game with Tampa Bay in the wildcard round. And then the following year, they end up missing the playoffs. So for Philadelphia, I'm eager to see if they end up suffering a similar fate to Washington, or if they will continue to find consistency in making it to the playoffs. And if you're an Eagles fan, you're probably going to say, yeah, JT, we have a good shot at making it to the playoffs next season, because unlike Washington, we actually have our quarterback of the future, which is Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts looked really good this year. You know, at times he had games when he wasn't able to get anything going through the air. Of course, that was expected. We know Jalen Hurts isn't really the greatest passer. He should continue to improve in that aspect. But I think that Nick Sirianni did a really good job of building a sustainable offense year one with Jalen Hurts going into his second season. This really was, you really could consider this Jalen Hurts like rookie season if we want to be technical about it, because this was his first full-time year as a starting quarterback full-time. So for Jalen Hurts, he still was learning. He still was learning the nuances of playing quarterback in the NFL. But you have to love Jalen Hurts' leadership. You have to love his mobility. Like, he reminds me of a better version of Vince Young. Like, I feel like Jalen Hurts could be a better version of what Vince Young was during his playing days for Tennessee, because when Vince Young was good, like, Tennessee was a pretty solid team back then when they had Vince Young during the point and stretch. You know, he was a Pro Bowler also, but, you know, injuries and the fact that, you know, his play was up and down at times kind of derailed his career. But you look at Jalen Hurts, you know, like, he can improve as a passer, which I believe that he will, because he's a hard worker. He's dedicated. Like, I feel like Jalen Hurts definitely is going to end up being in the MVP conversation next season. I know that's a bold statement to make, but I love Jalen Hurts. Yes, I am biased, but I love what Jalen Hurts did this season for Philadelphia, and I'm really excited to see how he develops. You also got Devontae Smith, who had a pretty good rookie year. Now, of course, it got overshadowed by how good Jamar Chase was and Jalen Waddle was, but Devontae Smith was really good this year. It's just that, you know, him and Jalen Hurts couldn't really find a way to, you know, get the ball in his hands. So next year, I expect Devontae Smith to have a breakout year. He probably should be going for over 1,200 yards, and as long as Jalen Hurts improves, Devontae Smith should improve as well. Now, Philadelphia does need to, you know, fix up their offensive line. You know, like, their offensive line wasn't bad this year, but it probably could be better. What's going to happen at the running back position with Miles Sanders? Are you going to bring in another running back? Are you going to draft one? Are you going to trade for one? Are you going to sign one in free agency? Now, the wide receiver position outside Devontae Smith, I don't really think is bad. It's just, it's just really, really young. So it really just depends on what Nick Sirianni and the front office for Philadelphia want to do. Do they believe that these young wide receivers can continue to be developed, or do they need to go ahead and sign one in free agency? Now, defense, you still need to find a star pass rusher because that's something that you don't really have. Okay, linebacker probably still needs to be improved. Linebacker has been a hole that Philadelphia has had for over the last, 4 to 5 seasons. Corner, you probably could use some more depth at that position. We know Darius Slay played at an all-pro level this year. What about after? You get what I'm saying? Steven Nelson, how do you feel about him? How do you feel about safety? So there are probably a lot of directions that Philadelphia probably could go when it comes to improving on the defensive side of the football. But overall, Philadelphia right now looks to be heading in a really good direction as an organization. This was a really quick turnaround because you got to remember, a year ago around this time, we were considering Philadelphia to be one of the most dysfunctional organizations in the NFL. Okay, they just got rid of their former head coach who won the Super Bowl with them. There was a lot of turmoil. You had the whole Jalen Hurts, Carson Wentz debacle. Should they keep Carson Wentz? Well, they end up trading Carson Wentz to Indianapolis, and we don't even know if he's going to remain the starting quarterback for the Colts for the foreseeable future. So it looks like Jalen Hurts right now is the guy for Philadelphia, and Philadelphia is only going to go as far as Jalen Hurts takes him. So it's all about making sure that you continue to develop Jalen Hurts properly and that you give Jalen Hurts the right supporting cast to succeed, because you look at his rushing ability, his rushing ability is just as good as Lamar's and Josh Allen, and a lot of people disagree with that, but a lot of people don't realize that, there are different running styles that quarterbacks have. Lamar is more of a finesse runner running outside of the tackles versus Josh Allen is more of a power runner. He can run in between the tackles, and that's similar to what Jalen Hurts is. He's a good power runner. He has really good vision. He's kind of like another running back at the quarterback position when he ends up running with the football at times. So now it's all about making sure that he can progress as a passer, and in order to do that, you have to make sure that offensive line is up to par and maybe trying to find some more weapons. Now, what's going to happen with Jalen Reagor? Because, I really do think that Jalen Reagor does have potential to be a really good wide receiver. I just think that the thing with him is that he's more of a slot wide receiver and not an outside receiver. So if he can, move over to that slot receiver position, I think he could be a stud there. So really, wide receiver needs to be improved. Offensive line probably could use a little bit more revamping. But overall, this Philadelphia Eagles team moving forward with a couple of additional pieces, this could be a team that could be really scary going into the 2022 NFL season, because if Jalen Hurts continues to develop the way he did this year, then he definitely could have Lamar Jackson kind of MVP season. Because remember, Lamar Jackson's MVP season, it seemingly came out of nowhere. His rookie season, he was really good, but year 2, he really took that large step, and that's when you start to see these young quarterbacks really start to emerge. The NFL has changed. You remember when you used to draft a quarterback and you had to wait 4 or 5 years for him to really progress? Well, now with these new age quarterbacks, they're now starting to show signs of superstardom in their second year. So for Jalen Hurts, year 3 pretty much of his NFL career is going to be really important, because a lot of people are probably still on the fence when it comes to Jalen Hurts. And the Philadelphia Eagles probably still on the fence when it comes to Jalen Hurts being the guy. They probably need a couple of more years, or at least another good year of consistent play before they look at Jalen Hurts and okay, you're our guy. But at the moment, Jalen Hurts has looked like a pretty good starter. It's just about how much can he improve as a passer. So you guys let me know how you guys feel about the state of the franchise for the Philadelphia Eagles. Make sure that you like the video, subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and college football videos. Also, make sure that you guys check out the JT Sports Podcast. Every video that is uploaded on the channel is available in audio format on every single podcasting platform. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts from. The JT Sports Podcast is available. All you got to do is go to whichever podcasting service you use, type in the JT Sports Podcast, and it should pop up. Or you can go to the link down in the description, scroll down a little bit, and it will have the links to the Apple Podcasts and Spotify Podcasts for you to go ahead and check out. Make sure you leave a 5-star review, and I appreciate you guys for tuning in to this episode of the JT Sports Podcast.